Hi everyone, it's Matter. We're on to box number 4, collector box number 4 of my Magic the Gathering Duskmourn House of Horror case buy. So I did get a sealed case of 6 of these, and I'm a madman, and I went through and cracked them all. And let's see what we got. Rares and mythics out of this box. Chainsaw in the showcase foil. And regular showcase. Cursed Recording, showcase foil, and in regular foil. Marina Vendrell's Grimoire, showcase, and in foil. Seance Board. So I think this is the only copy I pulled. Morbid, at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, put a soul counter on Seance Board. And you can tap it and add X mana of any color, where X is the number of soul counters. You can only use the mana to cast instant, sorcery, demon, and spirit spells. But still, that's a mana source that grows over time, so that could be interesting. Abhorrent Oculus. So an additional cost to cast the spell. Exile 6 cards from your graveyard. Flying, and at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, manifest dread. So yeah, 6 cards from the graveyard. I would have a tough time doing that. Animatu Veil Piercer. So in borderless foil. So this is from one of the commander decks. So this is the one that gives enchantment cards in your hand, miracle. So yeah, playing around with the miracle cost of things sounds interesting. Balustrade Worm in showcase. Curator Beastie. Reach. Colorless creatures you control enter with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on them. And whenever Curator Beastie enters or attacks, manifest dread. So that sounds interesting. Demolisher Spawn. So trample and haste and delirium. So if it attacks and you meet the delirium requirement, other attacking creatures get +4/+4 until end of turn. Okay. So the Enduring Cycle. So this is the red version. Enduring Courage. So whenever another creature you control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. And if this happens to die, you get to return it to the battlefield as an enchantment, and it's no longer a creature. The blue version, Enduring Curiosity. So whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So card draw engine. Enduring Vitality in the extended art foil. Creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Entity Tracker. So Flash and Eerie, whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, draw a card. So that's good for a room strategy. Fear of Missing Out. Lethal Arsonist. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Lethal Arsonist deals damage equal to its power to that player, and it has Undying. Glitch Interpreter. You control no face-down permanents. Return Glitch Interpreter to its owner's hand and manifest dread, so you'll get a face-down permanent. And whenever one or more colorless creatures you control deal damage to a player, draw a card. Kona Rescue Beastie. So this one's another way of getting mana. So at the beginning of your second main phase, if Counter Rescue Beastie is tapped, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So yeah, so it's a creature cheat. Well, permanent cheat. Marvin Murderous Mimic. This card sounds busted to me. It has all activated abilities of creatures you control that don't have the same name as this creature. So it sounds like it will be kind of crazy to... It'll lead to crazy game situations. I don't know. I don't know if I want to break my head trying to work with that card. So there it was in several versions. Metamorphosis Fanatic. Nico Light of Hope. I think this one sounded interesting when I read it before. When Nico Light of Hope enters, create 2 shard tokens. So they're enchantments with 2 and pay 2, sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, then draw a card. And you pay 2 and tap to exile target non-legendary creature you control. Shards you control become copies of it until the beginning of the next end step, and return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So, yeah, that does sound like fun. Overlord of the Balemerc. So these have, the overlords have impending clauses on them. So you get them out in the field as enchantments, and they don't become creatures until the impending period is over. And whenever Overlord enters or attacks, mill 4 cards. Then you may return a non-avatar creature card or a planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So, Overlord of the Boiler Bilges. So, impending 4. And when it enters or attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target. Overlord of the Flood Pits in the fancy version. Earlier in one of the earlier boxes, we saw the Japanese language version of this. Yep, and impending, flying, and when it enters or attacks, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Persistent Constrictor. So at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they lose 1 life, and you put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature they control, and it has Persist. Razorkin and Needlehead. So Razorkin Needlehead has first strike during your turn, and whenever an opponent draws a card, Razorkin Needlehead deals 1 damage to them. Reluctant Role Model. So it's got a survival clause. So beginning of second main, if it's tapped, put a flying lifelink or +1/+1 counter on it. And whenever it or another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters on up to 1 target creature. Okay, Tyvar the Pummeler in the fancy borderless foil version. So you can tap another untapped creature you control, and Tyvar the Pummeler gains indestructible to end turn, then tap it. So I guess it's a way of rescuing it if it's going to be destroyed. But the other thing is that you can pay 3 and 2 green, and the creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. If you've got ridiculous mana available, it's just a colon ability, so you can do it more than once. Undead Sprinter. So trample and haste, and you may cast it from the graveyard if a non-zombie creature died this turn. If you do, Undead Sprinter enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. Unstoppable Slasher. Valgaboth, Harrower of Souls. Winter, Misanthropic Guide. Borderless foil. Non-foil. Excuse me. Simone. All questioning, so this is the prime number one, just in the order list. I don't think that's foil. Central elevator and promising stairs. So the first one is you unlock this door, search your library for a room card that doesn't have the same name as a room you control, reveal it, put it onto your hand and shuffle. So you get a room tutor. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil one. You win the game if there are 8 or more different names on unlocked doors of rooms you control. So if you have luck getting out your rooms and making them stick, you got yourselves an alternate win gun. Dazzling theater and prop room. Yep, so this is one of my favorites among the rooms. Creature spells you cast have convoke. And untap each creature you control during each other player's untap step. Central elevator promising stairs. Is that okay? This is a different one. When you unlock this door, search your library for. Okay, so that's the tutor. So this one just got out of order. Ballmaker Shop and Porcelain Gallery. So this one's the fancier foil version. Whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. And creatures you control have base power and toughness, each equal to the number of creatures you control. So build up an army and then try and unlock the Porcelain Gallery. Grievous Wound. So chance a player, they can't gain life, and whenever they're dealt damage, they lose half their life rounded up. So this is, yes, if if someone is being a problem, maybe they deserve it. But otherwise, it's kind of mean. Leyline of Hope. If you gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. And as long as you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, creatures you control get +2/+2. Leyline of the Void. Shut down graveyards. Leyline of Transformation. So this is Masswood Nexus type of arrangement. Roller Crusher Ride. Okay. And this is another important one here. Walk-in Closet and Forgotten Cellar. So Walk-in Closet is you may play lands from your graveyard. And Forgotten Cellar is when you unlock this door, you may cast spells from your graveyard this turn. And if a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile it instead. So playing lands from the graveyard part is kind of key for certain strategies. Peer past the veil, discard your hand, then draw X cards, where X is the number of card types among cards in your graveyard. There's a regular foil version of it. Simone's Hypothesis. You may put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, then choose odd or even, and return each creature with power of the chosen quality to its owner's hand. 0 is even. So it's kind of conditional. You got to hope you've got enough to make it meaningfully asymmetric. Convert to Slime. Destroy up to 1 target artifact, up to 1 target creature, and up to 1 target enchantment. Delirium, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, Create an XX green ooze creature token where X is the total mana value of permanents destroyed this way. Demonic Council. So that's a tutor card. Disorienting Choice. Okay, I've been refusing to read all this text. Let's try it. For each opponent, choose up to one target artifact or enchantment that player controls. For each permanent chosen this way, its controller may exile it. Then, if one or more of the chosen permanents are still on the battlefield, you search your library for up to that many land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Okay, so you threaten everybody's permanents, and if they aren't willing to lose them, you get lands. So it's actually not a bad card. It's just a lot of text to read to get there. Loom Lake Verge. Okay, so now we're down to the lands. The Verges, they're untapped lands. That's great. And so they come in and they can tap for one of the colors that you need, and that's great. And basically the little hoop that you have to jump through is that if you want to get the second color, you have to have one of the required basic land types. So either an island or a swamp in this case. So that's not that hard to do. So these are great for building decks with. You know, if you don't have better lands, these will do. At least in my opinion. It's like, you know, marginal downside to using these if you don't have something better. Loom Lake, so this is the white and blue. And here's the Gruul version, Thornspire Verge. So I forget for this one, did we have... Well, we got an Overlord of the Flood Pits. We didn't have a Valgavoth. Yeah, so there are interesting cards in here, at least from a building perspective, but and that one card is worth a bit. Not sure about the rest. It's not sticking in my head that we hit anything super spectacular. This didn't have like the Meat Hook Massacres or the Valgavoths in it. But it does have stuff to build with. So this is box number 4, collector's box number 4. There are 2 more to go. We have yet to see a fractured foil, and we haven't seen the red black version of the showcase stuff. So the borderless ones. So there are ones like these where the color is red and black, and they're super rare. You know, like beyond rare and mythic, they're like, you know, they're very hard to get. So we'll see if we get lucky. 2 more boxes to go. See you there. Thanks.